Hello, welcome to a brand new episode of the Panther Weekly. Sorry, we didn't have a video last week. Is because we're recovering from the AC Boardwalk Comic Book Convention, which I slayed.
Yeah, you did really well. I'm proud of you, man. You did a good
This
job.
week,
Knuckles for that.
this week's new video is based solely on the launch of DC Comics Rebirth.
Pretty exciting.
Well, to a point.
Yeah.
Overall, like this comic book, this is one of the covers. You got the standard
This is
cover.
the standard cover here.
Like, you can't go wrong for a $3 book at 80 pages. The problem is there's a lot to talk about this comic.
I mean,
we're gonna get into the flaws, but
just starting with that, they're $3 for 80 pages.
Right.
It's more. I feel like this is DC saying sorry to its fans for how crappy they've been. And being nice to us for once in our entire lives. You know, not bad. Not bad.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, this is Jeff Johns' last story arc. Last story probably for a long time with DC Comics.
Depressing.
And it's sad because it's not... Because this comic book, you have to read Justice League 50, which is also a Jeff Johns read.
Which actually sucked.
Which was garbage.
And they copped out on the Joker reveal that they've been talking about for months. It was a very terrible book.
It was a very terrible thing.
And
not only that, but you had to read The Final Days of Superman, which was an 8-part story arc.
Which has been... I don't want to say it's been good.
It's been bad. Because it introduces the Superman from the Lois and Clark.
Yeah, it hasn't... I don't want to say it's been bad. It had its points. It was interesting at the start, but it fell off as most DC books have been doing lately. So
you're basically going to tell me that The Final Days of Superman was a good book when it's just a rehash?
No, it wasn't.
It's a rehash telling of the death.
It wasn't good, but I'm not going to sit here and say it was bad. It was interesting at the start. It was interesting.
It was bad.
It was interesting. But I didn't like it altogether. I will say I didn't like it altogether. It was annoying, though, to read this book and understand a lot of it. You had to read those two. And especially with Justice League 50 is what, part 10 of Darkseid War. So if you're not reading Darkseid War or the Superman storyline, you're not going to understand really those two books, like when you first get into it. So
not only that, but everything is connected.
Yeah.
Everything is connected. Not only that, but the overarching main character reveal of the whole story was pretty insane and kind of a letdown, so to speak.
Why would you say that?
I mean, this book does it. Here's the thing, though. This comic book doesn't fix the New 52. It mentions how bad it was.
Yeah. But
it doesn't fix how bad it was.
Which is, I mean, New 52. We got to remember, it was good at the start. It sucked after issue 12 of most series.
Well, not only that, but the problem was the New 52 has been around for 5
years.
Years. Okay. So if they knew it was going to be a problem early on when you're canceling books, then you know that that's a problem, and then you have to fix it at some point. They had numerous... They tried with the villains, the Forever Evil storyline.
It sucked.
They tried with Convergence just last summer.
God awful. The problem with New 52 is it was just a lot of overlapping tie-in storylines where you would have 4 Green Lantern titles who went on a nice tie-in together. The Batman titles kept tying in together. Then you had
but the Batman titles never... The Batman titles were just, in comparison, nothing connected.
Yeah.
Nothing was like they all came together for one storyline in the Night of the Owls and Death of the Family. But those storylines never went... If you're going to kill Damian Wayne, kill him in the Death of the Family... Not in stupid Batman Incorporated just to get sales for Grant Morrison.
Exactly.
It's a shit show from the start. So there was a lot of problems in DC.
Yeah.
What they did with Rebirth...
They turned to their savior to fix it.
Well, yeah, he's no longer their savior because...
Well, he is. He's moving over to their movies. He's going to save their movies, which is going to kill their comics.
Well, that may not even be the case. He may not even save the movies. But the problem is, though, you got to look. Convergence was what, 9 issues?
8.
What,
0. 0 makes it 9.
Right. So what they did is they learned from their problem with Convergence. They stuffed a one-shot with 80 pages and offered it for $3.
Not bad.
Now, you got Jeff Johns on the book. You got Gary Frank, Ethan Van Sciver.
Who they brought back for this.
Phil Jimenez.
He wasn't with DC. Van Sciver, they brought him back.
Phil Jimenez and Ivan Reis on art. So you got a lot of really good artists on the book. Now, let's start with the good about this book first. The first part about that I like about the comic is the fact that, of course, it's the price. It's $2.99.
Yeah, you
can't go wrong for $2.99 with 80 pages.
I'm shocked. I thought they would put this in like a $5 or $6 book just to kind of screw us. But
Right.
I'm shocked they did $2.99.
Reasonably priced comic for 80 pages of book. The overall story was decent.
I liked it. It was a nice Jeff Johns story. It wasn't his best. It wasn't his worst.
It's not the Sinestro Corpse Wars.
But that's
if
his
you're
best.
a fan of Jeff Johns and you like his reading and you hold Secret Origin or Sinestro Corpse Wars or Blackest Night,
well, you'll never touch that for Jeff Johns
because that's when he was at his peak.
Yeah,
that was his prime. He's sadly to say he's past his prime.
Yeah, well, I would agree, but he's still putting good stories that are interesting to read.
What did you feel about the heartfelt moment and the major character return?
The heartfelt moment was nice. Like it was a shocker. I didn't think they were going to do that. I thought they were going to kill off a character, honestly. And
it would have been better if they had killed the character off, but they referenced. But that's one of the reasons why you had to read Justice League 50 and Superman 52, because that right there. If you're trying to read, if like their whole campaign is the next epic starts here and it's Rebirth and it's a #1, you shouldn't have to go back and read 15 comic books just to read one.
Yeah, no, I would understand.
That everybody's looking to read today. I mean, look, this. Not gonna lie, this comic book is going to sell a lot. We've
already brought
we
5 people in the store.
We brought in 35 copies. We've already sold 20.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're going down.
We got 15 copies left. There's legitimately like this book is flying. Now, that was in fact a good. There were very, very good moments of this book, but I have to say though there are many flaws to the comic. We did touch on the fact that it was really cool to pay $3 for 80 pages, but it's heavy for 80 pages.
It is.
So that's just a lot of reading. So really, if you just wanted to know like a couple of things about this comic, and you didn't want to read 80 friggin' pages of story, then don't buy the comic book.
Yeah, I would agree.
But if you're a comic book fan and you love everything comics, then yeah, this is for you and you can read it. No, I'm not going to lie. This was easy for me to pick up. It was easy for me to read. I have read it 6 times. It's not a bad... To me, I didn't feel like it was... I mean, it's heavy when you have to read a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, well, the other thing, too, is not just only reading a lot of other stuff. Each page is loaded up with a lot of words on it, too, which, it can get distracting at times, So it's really a book. You got to sit down and you got to dedicate some time to read it. Other than that, though, I mean... What else did you say was a flaw? I mean, I was really disappointed by most of the book.
I really don't like the fact that you had to read possibly 3 or 4 story arcs.
Exactly. That annoyed me. I wasn't happy about that.
My whole thing is, it's like when you're right in the first page, right in the bottom, it
says,
read Justice League 50, Superman 52. Okay. I feel like I have to read that whole 10-part story arc of the Justice League. And then read that whole storyline that Superman's in.
But what annoyed me was...
But not only that, but what happened... But, if you're reading the storylines, but then what happens with Wonder Woman? What happens with The Flash?
Exactly.
Green Lantern. So you probably have to read all of that.
And what annoyed me, too, is when they started Justice League, the Darkseid War, when they started the Darkseid War, they really hyped up. But there wasn't saying, like, hey, listen, you need to read this to read Rebirth. And the same thing with the Superman storyline. It wasn't really advertised well. Very few people knew that Superman storyline arc was out there. So unless you're really involved with DC, you're not going to know that that's out there.
It kind of came out like late, but they kind of hinted at, if you're reading Lois and Clark Superman, that's the Superman who was pre-Flashpoint, pre-52. That is the Superman that was killed by Doomsday. That is the Superman that is going to be coming back into the new universe, who's replacing the new 52 Superman. That's confusing.
Yeah, it was a little. They did a lot of confusing stuff with all that. With Darkseid War, him dying, coming back, a baby now. There's just that whole storyline started out well, but towards the end it got really rough. And that 50 issue was just painful to read through. So like you have to read through 2 painful issues to get to this, that's the biggest flaw to me, is that they put way too much on other storylines to get to this. They should have, when they said Rebirth, a lot of people thought that this was going to be the cleaning sweep of New 52, that was going to get rid of it all.
But they did nothing to fix it.
Exactly. That's why a lot of people were saying, oh, New 52 was going to be some form of dream, or somebody created, someone's going to destroy it, and they didn't do anything to fix it, which is kind of disappointing.
The problem is if you're now. Then here's the thing. Now, if you really want to read this comic book, then don't watch this video.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you this right now. We are going to give you one spoiler.
Yeah.
And the spoiler is the first panel right when you open up the cover. So if you know what that image is, you know where the story's going.
Exactly.
Because that's literally what they did.
It was too much foreshadowing. It was too much foreshadowing early on. Foreshadowing is nice, but when you foreshadow that much right into the start, you automatically know what's going on. You automatically know where this is starting. And that's annoying to me because now it's like, okay, all this fluff in the middle.
Exactly. It's 60-something pages of fluff.
It was a good story, but I didn't need to read all this to get the entire picture and what's going to go on in Rebirth.
Exactly.
And that's what that's something that annoyed me. And Jeff Johns is usually pretty good with not putting fluff into stories, but this was one of his books where there was more fluff. There's way too much fluff in it. If this was a normal, like 80 pages is nice. Like I said, it's great. If they would have made this like a
there are
average size.
Several. I think I counted at least 3 moments in this comic where I wanted to give up.
Yeah, there were some moments where I was sitting here that I was bored. I was, I couldn't really get past the next page. I was asking myself, what is going on? Why is this happening? I've had to go back and look. There's times I had to go back and read just to get something that was going on in the book. But like I said, I'm not disappointed by it though. I'm really not. As a huge DC fan, I'm not disappointed. It gives me a little bit of hope for the future.
That's the problem because I'm not a DC fan.
Exactly.
I am a straight up Marvel fan. And here's the thing.
It's not going to pull new fans in.
It's if you're a guy who I really want to read DC, DC comic stuff now. This isn't going to pull you into the DC. No, because at this point right now, after reading this, I'm probably only going to read like maybe 6 books.
Yeah. I mean, I'm DC, so I'm going to stick with it and read my DC stuff. But like, I'm a dedicated DC fan. An average DC fan, like one of my best friends, who's a Marvel fan, if he picks this up, he's been telling me he wants to read this. He's been looking for that. He will not read more. He will not pick this up, read it, and say, I want to read DC now. That's my only disappointment with this. It's not going to happen. You're not pulling new fans in, which is, I think, was their big thing with this, was to try to pull some new fans in, but it's not going to work. That's a failure right there. I feel like they put a lot of their heavy hitter writers and a lot of their artists on it, and it just didn't do, I think, that main goal of bringing new fans in. It didn't do that, and that's the disappointing thing.
It doesn't, in closing, like, it doesn't do think. The one thing that Marvel does is Marvel always lets people know that a new storyline is going to start.
Exactly.
And you could jump into that story and you don't have to read the previous issue.
Yes.
With DC Comics, you have to read everything in order to get what it is.
It's always been their biggest
And not
flaw.
only that, though, because, if you're current... But the thing is, though, Marvel's going to do their thing again. You know that Marvel's going to reboot again.
We just found out Marvel Now is dropping.
Marvel Now is going to be coming, in the fall.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's fine. So, October, November, Marvel's going to do their another nice little soft reboot.
Yeah.
Which is be fine because that's what they want to do. That's what they've been doing. Marvel's done it for time and time again. DC... when DC launched Rebirth, that was their first relaunch. Yeah. Like, when they did the New 52, that was their first relaunch ever. Yeah. Like, they never did that before. When they first heard, they're relaunching everything with brand new number one.
Action Comics went to number one.
Everything
Detective, right there shows you.
Everything was like brand new number ones. And that was like, that was really cool. DC's doing something.
And their first year that
5 years later, DC is struggling more now than they've been when they decided that they were going to draw the line to $2.99.
Yeah, no, DC is in trouble. DC is as
this
a huge
does nothing,
DC fan.
In our opinion, this does nothing to help its cause.
Yeah, they're in trouble.
So I mean,
and like we just said, they're losing. Even though we said Jeff Johns, we kind of agreed he's past his prime. They're losing their best writer. He's gone. Their best writer's gone. Their COO is gone. Like, that's gonna be rough.
So in closing, my final review of the book out of a 10, I'm gonna give it a 10 solely on the last 4 pages of this book.
Yeah.
The last 4 pages, and the thing is, it's like, why would you do that? It's like, well, again, if you read the content, you see the foreshadowing, and you see how it ended, then it's a nice little send home to a casual guy who grew up reading comics from the 80s, who recognizes that iconic image, and you're fine. That's my 10. That's why it's a 10.
I can't give this book a 10. I mean, the artwork is phenomenal.
The artwork is very good.
This is one of the best put together books ever.
It is. Yeah, it's one of the best put together books
writer
ever.
great. John's did a good job with the story. I like the story. So, but I have to give it an 8 because the flaws just piled up too much. Having to read other stories annoyed me. Having just the flaws piled up too much. And I had a lot of hope for this book. And I still have a lot of hope for Rebirth, but as a huge DC fan, I don't want to say I'm disappointed, but I'm not happy. I'm not like as excited as I was. Like, I couldn't sleep last night just solely because I was so excited to read this, and not being able to sleep was not worth that. So it's a little disappointing. I still give it an 8 out of 10.
I'm not gonna lie. I slept great last night.
Thanks, man. I slept terribly.
I slept great. I had the best sleep of my night. I read this book 6 times. I also read Scooby-Doo #1.
How was that?
Scooby-Doo #1 was perfect.
See, that's going to be the savers that have their books.
I read Nighthawk #1. I thought that was great. I read Cat #1. I read all my Marvel books, and I had a great sleep of my, I had just perfect sleep.
Nice. I had
See, the problem is, DC comic fans, they want DC to be good so much that they realize that it's just never going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, like I said.
Yes, I'm looking at this as a Marvel elitist, but hey, I guess once you go Marvel, you never go back.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see with Hanna-Barbera. Maybe.
So if you stop into the store today and you pick up your copy of Rebirth, you get a lithograph. That's this gigantic thing.
Right here.
So
it's a huge lithograph too.
Tune in today, and we'll tune in next week. We'll have another video. We're going to talk Civil War. We're going to talk other stuff, and what other awesome things.
Real quick, how awesome was Civil War Zero though? I thought it was a great book.
Civil War Zero was really good, but next week we're going to do a Civil War based episode. So we'll have Civil War Zero. We'll talk that. We'll talk #1. We'll talk the future of Marvel Comics,
which is probably on up and up.
Marvel's just looking good right now.
Yeah, not that I'm not a Marvel fan as a DC guy. Marvel is #1 in the business right now. So we'll talk about more of that next week. Yep. I can't wait to see you guys. Hopefully you tune in and check us out. Have a good day.